Interesting stories. Interesting people. Welcome to the Humble Badger Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this podcast today. You can support the podcast at The Humble Badger on Twitter and Facebook, or at The Humble Badger Podcast on Instagram. This episode is brought to you with the help of our promotional partners at Falsha Irish Pub. Come hungry, leave happy. $4 tax-in Jameson shots all day, every day. You can visit them at 201 City Center Drive or falshairishpub.ca. My name is Pablo Dawson. I am a local dramedian. I've been called a D-list celebrity. I'm an event host and an MC. I am the host for this episode of the Humble Badger Podcast. And as you know, we always start out with something wacky. This actually comes to us via a message that we received. If you want to message us, by the way, visit thehumblebadger.com for details, or you can send us a message on social media. So this is a message that we got on social media. They said, can you find a name that has more famous people associated with it than Michael? And I frankly could not think of one because there are so many famous Michaels. And can you think of another name that has that many famous people associated with it? And what is the most famous Michael you know? My answer was former basketball star Michael Jordan. I'd love to know what my co-host thinks about that.
I think the one that pops into my head just, at first glance is going to be Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, eh?
Yeah, he was my favorite Batman.
Really? He was not my favorite
he was
Batman.
good.
Well, that's okay. We're all entitled to our opinions.
No, exactly.
They're subjective. He was also Beetlejuice, and growing up as a kid,
He was awesome.
Amazing movie,
Yes.
right? It's so
Don't
good.
get me wrong. I like Michael Keaton as an actor. He just was not my favorite Batman. But we're getting off topic.
We are. Yeah. Well, let's get back on to what I like.
That's right.
And who am I? I'm LK, the Electric Lynx, entertainment journalist, comedy writer, current podcaster, and my worst taste is black licorice.
Yeah, I don't like that either. That's for sure.
Worst taste.
But you know what the funny thing is, though? I can have Sambuca, which is pretty much the exact same taste. I don't know why. Maybe it's the alcohol.
I can't have it. I can't hang with the big dogs when the Sambuca comes out.
Well, I'd love to know what our guest thinks about famous Michaels.
Well, I'm Michael G. Morrison, and the famous Michael that I know is actually, it's his original name, which is Marion Michael Morrison, a.k.a. Mr. John Wayne.
Oh, really?
Wow.
John? I did not. That's his name?
I dare you to fact check that.
I think we will, because we do have a crack fact-checking team here at the Humble Badger Podcast. But yeah, no, it's that's an interesting fact, and he was originally Michael.
Yes.
And it's funny. It's just like the person that messaged, like, do you know someone who is, do you know a name that has more famous people associated with it? And I can't think of a name that is like that.
No, usually any of the saints, the Johns, the Andrews, etc., the Davids sometimes, yeah. But I'm a little partial to Michael, and I find that, typically that's the most common name. I can be in a room and say Michael, hear the word Michael, and three guys turn around and say, yeah, what?
According to our crack fact-checking team here at the Humble Badger Podcast, they say that John Wayne's original name was Marion Mitchell Morrison.
What?
Not Michael. So you're going to have to come up with another famous
my.
Michael.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Well, then hang on. The original Shrek then. Michael Myers.
Oh,
Michael
yeah, that
Myers,
one.
Also,
or AKA Mike Myers.
Right.
It's not Mike Myers.
Halloween.
Yeah,
Halloween, actually.
Oh,
Yes.
Halloween.
Yes.
We're all getting our facts wrong here at the Humble Badger Podcast today.
No, but Michael Myers, you mean from like Austin Powers?
That is correct.
And
Yes.
Wayne's World, of course,
Exactly.
which a lot of people forget that he was on now ever since the whole Austin Powers franchise.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. So, Mr. Michael G., you are a comedian.
That is correct.
Can you please let the listeners know some of the venues that you've performed at?
Naturally, they're our sponsor. I've been at Felche's.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to perform at Rose Theatre in Brampton, Absolute Comedy in Toronto, Yuck Yucks, various Yuck Yucks venues around the GTA, and most recently, I was able to be at I was at Absolute probably about a couple months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lots of different venues.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that your comedy has a theme to it when you perform, or is it just random observations, or how do you put that together?
For me personally, I guess the theme that I would have is that I call myself, I say that I'm a happy homemaker with a humorous side hustle.
That's quite the side hustle.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I guess I started getting into comedy shortly after I had experienced some adversity in the sense that I got laid off. I won't tell it's one of the larger IT companies in Canada. It rhymes with hell. And it was
Guess who we're not getting as a sponsor.
But I was going through a real rough patch, and fortunately my wife was like, you've always loved doing the medium of comedy. If there was ever an opportunity for you to maybe explore and really find out if I was funny, it was that opportunity. So once we looked at things, the best way for me to be able to pursue my passion was to have to change my role. And be able to essentially, take care of the kids. And we did a role reversal, which allowed me to be able to follow my dream. And and here we are. About 8 years later, I've been able to branch into doing some acting as well as in terms of releasing my tensions, because this can be a really tough business. And I almost call it a baptism by fire, but I also am a certified soccer official.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that in itself has its own material too.
A man of many talents.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, of all these hats that you wear, which one do you feel sort of the most comfortable in?
Obviously the homemaker role. And again, it's usually big with the ladies when I say it, when I proclaim myself on stage as an openly male homemaker. I'll be perfectly honest, when you have kids and the opportunities, especially in these past, in the past time that I've had, to be with them, I've had the opportunity of watching them grow, and it's time that you don't necessarily get back. And now as they are getting older, I'm getting that opportunity to be able to get out more and more now. So it really is almost kind of like having your cake and eat it too.
Right.
Can you remember the first time you stepped on stage to do comedy and how you felt and how that show went?
It was actually, it was back in Yuck Yucks at Richmond and John.
Oh yeah, that was my first performance too.
It was an open mic that was hosted by a guy named Jack Norman, and I probably got about a minute and 30 in, and he physically came up and pulled me off the stage. It was that bad. But the fact was that, I could have stopped right then and there. I had my mom, I had my wife, I had a couple of people there, but I was determined to, if you will, brush off my knees and get back up on the horse. And I had gone back a couple other times to the point where Jack, gave me the opportunity of going back on and even extending my time while I was on stage.
Oh, very nice.
So,
well, you know what? That's we started off similar anyway. As people know, I was a former stand-up comedian. I had a friend of mine who would always say, "Oh, you got to do stand-up. You're very funny." And I always dismissed him that, you know what, Mike. He was also Mike, in fact. But I was like, Mike, everyone's friends think they're funny. That doesn't mean I should do stand-up, because even back then I knew those are not the same things, right? But he unfortunately passed away in a car accident, and this was many years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And at that point, I decided that he always told me to go and try stand-up. I thought, okay, maybe I should go and give it a shot. So I went down with my brother. We went down to that same Yuck Yucks you're talking about, the one downtown. And I got up there, and I did very well, and I got lots of laughs and everything. And afterwards, the host was very surprised because this is a guy who says he's doing it for the first time, and I was. And he said that, Jim Carrey bombed here. And I was like, okay, I'm glad you didn't tell me that before my set. You told me that afterwards, so it was fine. And there was a couple of other people that I performed with that night who then went on to have successful comedy careers. Right. I stopped doing it after a couple of months because it was not something that I was really, the amount of work that you have to put into comedy, I don't think a lot of people appreciate that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, sometimes I liken it to a marathon. And really, especially when you're, if you will, finding yourself. For me, anyway, it's basically, focusing on the fact that the destination or the journey, excuse me, is a lot more important than the destination.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know, and again, my personal situation was that you kind of have to pick your spots, especially when you're having to juggle, you know, family and children who were young at that time.
Yeah.
You know, you get, once you get your chances, you take them when you can, and then you know, sometimes you have breaks when you can't get out there. But this is when the opportunity of being able to, you know, you use those moments, in my opinion, to hone your writing, work on your skills, and things of that nature.
Are your children old enough to come watch your shows now?
One is,
Okay.
one, you know, actually, what I try and do, I try and keep it somewhat, if you will, PG. PG, pushing on the PG-13.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
little spicy.
Yeah, but you know what?
A little bit
exactly.
of hot sauce.
But Mike, I think you'd agree with me that it isn't PG comedy is harder to write than no holds barred comedy. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
For, you know, for example, you know, I was telling you earlier that I'm a certified soccer official. You know, there's nothing more humbling, okay, than having a 9-year-old invite you to go explore self-fornication. Okay.
What? What kind of soccer games you coaching?
All I'm saying,
that language.
yes, all I'm saying is that, you know, to your point, Pablo, you know, phrasing it in that way as opposed to giving the 7-letter
Exactly, of course,
abbreviation.
but still, man, if I was 9 and I said that to anybody older than me, I would have been used as the soccer ball by my parents.
But that's back in the day. We live in a new world now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You can't use your
Now
kids
you
as
have to
soccer
take
balls.
Screen time away.
Yeah. Kids are
Oh, but that's a big punishment for them too.
Well, it
Yeah,
is.
That's
That's
absolutely true.
actually the biggest hand we
Yeah.
have against children. And
remember now.
discipline.
Kids are people too. Pablo.
Yeah.
Allegedly, that's your opinion.
No.
I think it's time for rapid fire, El.
I think it is too.
Let's do this.
Do you know what rapid fire is? Are you aware? Are you ready to play?
Don't know, but I'm ready to play.
Okay.
So he didn't read the terms and conditions, is what he's trying to say.
Okay.
You
Well, neither do we.
Well, I understand. Some questions coming at me, and I'm gonna give an answer.
Yeah.
No, Michael's got it already. We don't even need to. So here it comes. Beer or wine?
Beer.
Okay. All right.
What would you rather receive?
Wine, generally speaking, but I'm not one to turn down a cold beer on a summer.
Oh, yeah, neither am I.
right.
I'm not one to turn down anything, but I prefer whiskey. Would you rather receive an email or a letter if anyone still sends those?
Email.
Okay,
Letters
yeah,
are bills.
I
aren't
mean,
they?
email's so much quicker, faster, more
Gotta
efficient.
change-
Yeah, but
change
having
at
said
times.
that, I think people take more care in writing a letter. So if I ever actually got a letter from somebody,
You'd be shocked.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
I'm
yeah, I'd
shocked
be
when I get a
surprised.
Christmas card in the
Yeah.
mail. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
I
that's
got
true.
one this year. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Rich friend or loyal friend?
Yeah.
Can't I have both?
I was gonna say loyal friend that happens to be
Lots
rich.
of money?
Yeah, but loyal friend.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you like soup or sandwich? And just so we're clear, I'm not offering right now.
Okay.
You can get it at Falsha, though.
Soup, because I gotta get. I can't have too many carbs.
You can't. Everybody is on this no carb thing. Yeah, for sure. I would rather a sandwich, but with soup. How about let's go with
Yeah, I
that?
want to dump
like
my
that.
sandwich in the soup.
In the soup, exactly.
Yes.
That's good.
So good.
Oh, that's comfort food right
That's
there.
right. I'm liking that comfort food. Okay. How about movie at home or movie at the theater?
Movie at home.
Okay. Yeah. Just
There's
more.
there's something about being able to stretch out, throw a blanket on, and I mean, again, be able to cuddle up with my special somebody.
Yeah.
That's
No, you know what? I used to like going out, even with my special somebody, out to a movie theater. I used to like that experience a lot. And then I've just, I don't know, the people, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or more jaded, more bitter, but I can't stand the public anymore. Like in the theaters, because they are talking during a movie.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't enjoy the movie. And so what am I doing? Now I would agree that it's now, it used to be Netflix and chill. Now it's Amazon Prime and bedtime, but
Okay.
you know,
Yeah,
Nice.
well, it
whatever.
happens, right?
It's just at home.
It's not even the talking that bothers me. It's the cell phones.
Yeah, that too.
And the glow
That
of
too.
the cell phone. I'm
Yeah.
like, put
Yeah.
your
They
phone
don't get
away.
it.
You're
That-
here
yeah.
watching a big screen. Get off the small screen.
Yeah, and you could see that light everywhere. It lights up the theater.
crazy. Get off of that.
Frustrating. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I'll give you one more question for rapid fire. It's a little bit loaded. While walking, would you prefer music or podcasts?
You know what? I prefer podcast. I
Winner!
Now, I don't know if that's the right answer, but you know
that
what?
is the right answer. That's what the
You
dings
walked
mean,
right
man.
into that. Thank you, Michael.
No problem.
All right.
Well, I definitely want to thank our guest, Michael G. Morrison. If you want to give him a follow at MGM Comic, and you will do that right after the segment that I forgot, which is the trivia portion. And because it's MGM Comic, no, there was a segue. Because it was MGM Comic, your trivia topic is MGM Studios.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? What does MGM stand for?
I believe it's Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
Boom. Drop
You got
the
it
mic,
right,
But not literally.
100%.
These things cost too much.
What is the animal associated with MGM Studios?
Oh, I believe that is the lion.
Damn.
That's for our feline enthusiast, LK. Yeah. And last question, where are MGM's corporate headquarters?
I believe they're in Vegas.
No, it's actually Beverly Hills, California.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
That's
2
where
out
the
of 3.
hotel is.
2 out
We're
of
going to
3
give you
ain't
a
bad.
half one.
Yeah, you'll get a half one. Yeah, because you're right. The hotel is
It's
there.
there. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't even know if they're related, but whatever.
They are.
Yeah, I would think so.
Well, now officially, Mike, thank you very much for coming
No
on.
problem.
the
Thanks for
Humble
having me,
Badger
guys. I
Podcast.
really appreciate it.
Okay. I'd also like to thank the lovely co-host, the talented co-host, the journalist, the podcaster, the comedy writer, LK.
All day, every day.
That's right. You can give her a follow at The Electric Links. That's on Twitter and Instagram. She's new to social media, so be patient. Okay. We'd like to thank our promotional partners at Falsha Irish Pub. For any inquiries from anyone, please visit thehumblebadger.com for contact information or send us a message through social media. And I want to thank our crew as well as you for tuning in. Signing off from the Sett here at Trax Ahead Studio, I'm Pablo Dawson. Wherever you are and whatever you do, remember to follow your passion.
Thank you for tuning in to the Humble Badger podcast. For more information, please visit thehumblebadger.com. The Humble Badger podcast is produced by the Pablo Dawson Company. Context matters. See you next time.